It's 44 degrees. I got a full tank of gas. I'm at work. It's raining. And I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm sure there's something about a pack of cigarettes in there too, but anyway, happy Monday, everybody. Although I don't know what's so happy about it. It's 44 degrees and it's raining. So there's that. But with that being said, y'all be careful out there. Hope y'all are planning to have a good week. I'm fixing to have a half a day off. Or the day off. Pretty gnarly out here. Yeah. We are loading up equipment back yonder though. Can't see it. Got a couple of 18-wheelers flat with the low boys loading up heavy equipment, getting it out of here. They're mudding up my road. They're just hanging around to make sure they lock up the gate and clean up the mud. Anyway, y'all be sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. If y'all enjoy the content, we're going to rant about the elections. So I see a lot of Democrats and Marxists, communists, leftists, idiots. I see somebody make a stupid comment of, oh, there's only a recount if the Republicans lose. I got two words for you: Al and Gore. That started it all. That was the first contested election I ever saw in my life that wasn't within 10,000 votes of one another. Now, if it's a close race, I think there should be a runoff or a recount. But there's so much freaking corruption right now going on. In 2020, it was absolutely corrupted. It was the most corrupt and cheated election that there's ever been in the history of elections. You might go back and read about, I think it was Hidalgo County or some county down in West Texas, where Frank Hamer went down there because they were stuffing ballot boxes, and there were so many violent Democrats there that they actually ran one of the only times that the Texas Rangers actually got overwhelmed and ran out of town. But let's just take this. Let's just take this in perspective. There was an election in the 1860s that was in the middle of the Civil War between 1860 and 1865. There was an election, a presidential election in there, where they hand counted the votes and finished it in a day. They actually rode by horseback and had all the election results in and counted within 4 or 5 days. That's by horseback in the 1860s. A national presidential election. Counted all the ballots in one day and had the results together in 4. From the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, all the results were in within 24 hours of the election. In 2020, in the day and age of computers and electronics and speedy, world-connected communications, I mean, you can call anybody in the world, there's no longer any such thing as long distance. The world is a smaller place with communications and computer-aided, running toll boards, running counts, things that can track this, even hand counting. In this day and age, this is how stupid, how poorly educated that the current millennials are in America. One, they can't tell you when the Civil War was at, when it happened, where it occurred, or who was fighting each other in the Civil War. They couldn't tell you those things. Yet they had a presidential election where they hand counted every ballot and horseback rode it to the, for the totals, and had it done in one day and had the results in 4 days. In 2020, there were 5 counties, 5 states, 5 cities in the entire United States that fucked up the entire election. Now, don't get me wrong, there was not just anomalies and not just discrepancies. There were mathematical impossibilities. Look up Bernoulli's principle. That's how they catch embezzlers, okay? It's rock solid, hardcore, cannot be defeated mathematical test that you can, it's the litmus test for everything from gambling to elections to embezzlement to the growth of your business. Bernoulli's principle applies to it all. It will tell you what the bell curve is and how the bell curve works. Bernoulli's principle is it. That is the test to find fraud in any mathematical situation. Anything that has to do with the numerical sequence, Bernoulli's principle will apply to it. Now, you've got these numbnuts that will tell you, oh, Bernoulli's principle cannot be applied to elections because emotions are involved. Look, I fucking have a deep-seated hatred for mathematics, yet that's what I do for a living. Oh, the irony. But I get paid, a good 6-figure salary to do what I do. So, no, I'm not an idiot when it comes to mathematics. Yeah, maybe I am, but I get paid good money to figure shit out. And applying Bernoulli's principle to a lot of shit is something that I know how to do. Bernoulli's principle goes out the window when you look at the 2020 presidential election. There is no way in hell it goes zip, 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 whoop, zip. There's no way. Absolute numerical impossibility. Impossible. From Pythagoras to Neil deGrasse Tyson, right up to friggin', Stephen Hawking, the brightest and brilliant minds you can think of today in mathematics. From Pythagoras to now, Bernoulli's principle stands the test of time in every freaking situation, no matter what. But it was only in 5 places in 2020. Amazingly, those same 5 places are having problems now. You wonder why? Corruption. Katie Hobbs did not campaign. Katie Hobbs did not debate. Katie Hobbs cannot debate. She's not smart enough to debate. Katie Hobbs is running the election. She never even tried to get out and get elected. She just threw her hat in the ring and said, I'm going to be elected. And she's manipulating the numbers. She's in charge of that shit. She knows all the criminals, all the crooks, all the machines. Changed my mind. Kari Lake was winning in 96% of the counties in the pre-poll polls. When you're following the pre-election polls, 96% of the counties, and 70 to 80% of each one of those 96%. 4% of the counties ain't going to sway the vote. It ain't going to make it 50-50. It ain't even going to make it close. Now, equative tallies will. And that's where a machine goes, the machine is set to keep these things close. So what I do out here is I want to keep my labor versus time close. And I will set my tallies or where I'm totaling up my man hours versus production. I will set that up to where if production gets higher than the cost, then I'm making money. If production gets behind the cost, I'm losing money. Bernoulli's principle applied that tells me if I'm doing that or not. I can also apply that to the calendar. I can put on, I have this much production at this much time, but I need to be from nothing done to completely finished here. And it will make this slope just like that. Now, anywhere will it go? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's not going to do all this jumping around shit. Like the blue line in the presidential election where it goes up and across and then in the wind. No, that does not happen, cannot happen. Absolutely impossible for that to happen unless it's manipulated. So whatever happens has to have a nice smooth curve to it. It may get erratically sharp or lessen, or it might even peel off, but it's never going to make a sharp jump. Never. It cannot. You cannot do that because there is a flow of numbers. So let's look at these 5 counties, states. So in 2020, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and was it Tempe or Phoenix, Arizona, and then Clark County, Nevada. Those 5 counties where they in Atlanta, they had a flood on the 2nd floor, which turned out to be a stuffed up toilet. But they shoot all the conservatives out. As soon as the conservatives left, bam, the Democrats go back to counting ballots till 4 a.m. In Philadelphia, they shoot out all of the people who were monitoring and watching to make sure that things were a fair election. They shoot everybody out the door. They literally physically threw them out of the building. Call the police. Made up a bunch of lies and shit about how they're being violent, they're threatening us, this guy's got a gun, that guy's got a hammer, this or that, and had the police escort them away. So the police were in on it. In Detroit, they literally took giant cardboard boxes and pizza boxes and covered the windows while they altered the count. And oddly enough, during these exact times when these discrepancies and these anomalies happened was during this criminal activity. Every one of them. Fast forward to 2022 midterm elections. Pre-election polls show the Democrats getting shellacked in every state, in every city, in every category, in every seat. So let's start off with Philadelphia, which is in the state of Pennsylvania, that just elected Fetterman, who every other word out of his mouth is and everybody's like, well, he's got a traumatic brain injury. No, he had a stroke. But if you go back and look at his interviews prior to that, he was just as stupid before. I wouldn't say that the stroke was an improvement, but it damn sure didn't change anything about his intelligence quotient. So all I can say is, gee, Pennsylvania pretty much elected the best and brightest from among them. That actually makes you worse than Minnesota, who voted and elected and invited into the race the likes of a wrestler and the guy who wrote Jack Handy and Stewart, because he was good enough, he was smart enough, and damn it, people like him. No, nobody likes you. You're a fucking joke, and you got elected to the Senate. Now they've elected a brainless moron who now has an injury to the little bitty brain that he didn't have to start with. They elected a stroke victim over a doctor. Not like Jill Biden doctor. It's like, oh, here, you were a kindergarten teacher. We're going to give you a doctorate certificate. No, not a doctorate, a actual physician. I'm thinking Oz was like a thoracic doctor, MD, but he was a surgeon. So they actually picked a mentally handicapped person over a doctor, a physician. Now, I don't agree. I don't want to see lawyers. I don't want to see attorneys become politicians. That is a disaster because they're crooked and corrupt by nature. But doctors and plumbers and painters and maybe even a teacher, I don't know, teachers are pretty stupid. I think teachers need to be paid on their performance. I mean, I am. If I'm building this $150 million complex here and I go like $155 million, I should be fired. If I run the budget over by $1 million, I should be fired. I will get fired if I ran it over $500,000. I would be fired because that's piss poor performance. That's me failing to do my job. If you've got a class where less than half your students are passing, or even 20% of the school is failing, the teacher should take a cut in pay of 20%. They should get paid by the amount of people that graduate. Every person that doesn't graduate should be a percentage off of their fucking payment. The end. So I don't know if I want teachers to be elected officials or not. But I do believe that elected officials should be paid minimum wage and required to work 40-hour weeks. I think that should be a requirement. But these same places, Michigan, I think Michigan hired an idiot or elected an idiot. Pennsylvania obviously elected a mentally deficient idiot. So we got this corrupt preacher versus Herschel Walker, who is like, he was an accomplished USFL player. He was an accomplished NFL player. He was an accomplished MMA fighter. He was bobsled in the U.S. Olympics. He has several successful businesses. He won, I don't know if he won The Apprentice, but he was on The Apprentice. By the way, he played for the New Jersey Generals in the USFL. And while he was playing there, I believe Donald Trump bought the team and paid his check there. So, and he and Donald Trump struck up a friendship that's lasted the ages. I've met Herschel Walker and had a conversation with him face to face now. I think it was like in 1986, 88. So I was pretty much, well, I wasn't a kid, but I was in my 20s. We were approximately the same age. And we had a conversation, and it wasn't really about, it was partially about football, started about football, but we had some conversations about morals, ethics, and values. And I don't remember what it was in regards to, but he was at a Chevrolet dealership signing autographs, and it was kind of slow and rainy that night. And so I actually got to hang out with Herschel Walker, Harvey Martin, and Tony Dorsett. And there was somebody else there, I want to say, I don't think it was Butch Johnson. It may have been Butch Johnson. But anyway, I didn't hang with him. I talked to Herschel Walker because he had just come here like the year before, that year. And I was really interested in him because I'd watched him in college and followed him. And I was a big USFL fan, so I was familiar with the New Jersey Generals. And I knew that they had won the championship that year. Or they were in the playoffs. I think they may have lost to Jim Kelly's team or Steve Young's team. Jim Kelly and Steve Young both played in the USFL. So anyway, so Herschel Walker's against this fucking Warlock. It's Warnock. This corrupt preacher who was evicting people from his church's rental properties. What kind of church has rental properties? Why aren't they doing charity work? Why aren't they feeding the hungry and the homeless instead of renting houses? Why aren't they in the real estate business? They don't pay taxes. There's no reason for them to be in real estate. But during the pandemic, when nobody else could evict people, his church was evicting people. So that tells you what kind of a preacher he is. And if you watch some of his sermons, he's a bling bling preacher. He has nothing to do with the Lord. He has everything to do with prophets. So, and he's corrupt, and he's cheated in 2 elections, trying to cheat in the second election. I can't believe that there's that many stupid people in Atlanta. Maybe in 5 points, but in Fulton County overall, I found that the people in Fulton County when I was there were friendly and relatively they were pretty smart. They weren't stupid people. They were nice people, smart people. A lot of them. So I don't know if they're just. How stupid can you be to elect an evangelical to a political position? If you think about it, politics has to do with your tax money. That's all. They're spending your money. Elect people are going to spend your money wisely. Anyway, good luck to Kari Lake. Good luck to Herschel Walker. And I don't know the candidate's name in Nevada, but I don't think it was going his way last I heard. But good luck to those people. If you're not electing conservatives, you're throwing your money away, because Democrats are definitely going to waste your money. They're going to blow your money. To give you an idea, you're paying $5 a gallon for gas and $3 a gallon for milk. I couldn't even tell you what eggs are, but I'm sure they're more than they used to be. Everything is up across the board. I know building materials are up like 30%, and they have been ever since 2021. The housing market, outrageous. The car market, try to buy a car, outrageous. The government gave you $1,600 stimmy check. Is that covering any of that now? You know, you do the math. It's your pocketbook. I gotta give it something that you can feel, because that shit doesn't really affect me to a degree where I notice it. But I'm more fortunate than most people. If I was living week to week, I don't know if I could make it. I don't see how y'all are making it. Rent's $1,000 a month. Car payments $1,000 a month. They gave you $1,600, and you've been paying $1,000 a month for 24 months now. The minute Biden took office, everybody's 401k started earning less. The stock market started earning less. They didn't have shit to do with the pandemic. Pandemic was made up anyway. We didn't have to shut down shit. Nobody died. It wasn't like there was the deaths they were predicting. If you look at the numbers going back over 10 years, they just basically traded flu deaths for COVID deaths. People that were dying from pneumonia and the flu, they just traded those deaths off to COVID, because they were getting paid $17,000 a treatment, $39,000 per death by calling it COVID. I mean, that's the reality of it. If you go and look at the numbers, like 6,000 people, I think it was 3,000 in Texas, there's like 3,000 people a month or a year died, and it fell off to 917 people when there was the pandemic. 917 people, down from 39,000, it was 3,900 per month, went down from 3,900 to 917 during the pandemic. Where do these people with did the flu just go away? Because I had the flu last week and it was kicking my ass. It was so bad I thought it was COVID. I was like, this is awful. I've had COVID 2 or 3 times. It was nothing. I had that flu for 4 days. I tested myself for COVID twice. Not just the home test. I actually have the real, for my work here, I actually have the real test that the hospital used. Same semen test. Simmons, whatever it is. I had that same test here at the job site. I tested twice. I didn't have COVID. It was the flu. It was way worse than COVID was. Way worse. I haven't had the flu since 2017. I didn't miss it. Regardless, you're paying all these high prices now because they promised you $1,600 stimmy check. Did you get it? Where's that $1,600 now? That won't even cover 1 month's worth of rent for most of us. That won't cover a $1,000 truck payment for most of us. That's 1 month of either rent or truck payment. How are you getting by on that? Why did you let them buy your vote for that? Is that how cheap your integrity was? $1,600 for your integrity? $1,600 wouldn't buy a day of my time. Maybe I might get out of bed for $720 a day, maybe $750 a day, but less than that. My time is worth more than that. My integrity is worth more than that. You want to buy my integrity? You better come across with $350,000 to $500,000. $1,600 ain't going to get it. A free phone ain't going to get it. Relieving some student debt ain't going to get it. That student debt thing's a ridiculous thing, because Joe Biden has neither the authority, the ability, or the money to do that. They can't force you to relieve debt, and they can't force you into commerce. And you just give up to both. And I'm going to have to get out of this jacket, because underneath here, I am sweating like a pig. It's hot in here. Well, I think it's 43 degrees outside. But I got to come out of this jacket. Anyway, love you all. Pay it forward. Be good to one another. And for God's sakes, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the notification button. Because every time that bell rings, a piece of shit liberal cries. Actually, that's Jericho Green's line. Sorry, Jericho.